السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه واتبع هداه وبعد. Thank you very much for coming tonight in our second part in this series on the spiritual reading of the Quran. I know it is very cold tonight, but you made it, mashallah. And thank you for making the masjid part of your day. I'd like to start with what we left off with last time. Last time we said the purpose of tadabbur, the word for contemplation and meditative reading in Muslim tradition is tadabbur. So what is the purpose of tadabbur? Are we looking for information or formation? We're looking for formation, as we mentioned last time. The purpose of tadabbur in one word is influence. The impact of the Quran on your heart. You could be a great Arabic grammarian and the Quran does not have influence in your heart, so you're out of tadabbur. So tadabbur is something that can be learned, even if you are a scholar. We talked about that last time. So the main goal of tadabbur is that you let your heart experience the awe of the Quran, and you let your heart feel the Quran itself. To let the Quran go through you, not you going through the Quran, as we also mentioned before. There is a huge difference between knowing about wind and knowing wind. You know about wind by studying the physics of it and how it works, but when you feel it in your face, you know it. So reading the Quran spiritually belongs to that second category, knowing Allah. It's not knowing about Allah. So now it's more experiential. Can we really reach that level? This is the purpose of this class, and we'll be doing a good deal of that tonight, inshallah. So the spiritual reading is like peeling away layer after layer till you reach the core of the ayat. And the core is where the influence resides. So our main question tonight is to ask, this big question is, what cultivates the awe of Allah in our hearts through the Quran? But before that, we also mentioned last time, the idea of the influence of the Quran is absolutely reiterated throughout the Quran. We mentioned the ayah that talks about the Quran. If the Quran were to be revealed on a mountain, the mountain will be humbled and falling apart. Ibn Ashur said this means that if the mountains were addressed by the Quran and the mountains have the faculty of reasoning, they will be humbled and they will be falling apart out of the reverent fear of Allah. Min khashyatillah. I can translate khashya as the awe of Allah. Literally, this is the word awe, as we'll explain. We use the word awesome. The word awe literally comes from a word that means fright. And it means terror and wonder. So it has this idea of reverent fear. And we'll come to that inshallah in a second. We also see some questions in the Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayah 83, when they hear what was revealed to you, تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ مِمَّا عَرَفُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Their eyes become tearful because of what they know of the truth. And that is why, because the mushrikeen recognized the influence and the impact of the Quran on the hearts, that's one of their strategies against the Quran was, لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه. Do not listen to this Quran and make noise when it is recited. لعلكم تغلبون, so that you will win and defeat those group of Muslims. So the idea of tadabbur and the spiritual reading is more about influence. Is your heart influenced by the Quran or not? It's not regular reading. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Why wouldn't they reflect and meditate on the Quran? أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. or their hearts have locks on them. So it's either you can meditate on the Quran and be touched by it, and if not, then your heart has some locks on it. And we talked about some of these locks last time, like arrogance. You need to approach the Quran very humbly to learn. That's why you pray before you pray, and you ask Allah to illuminate your heart before you start the reading. Imam al-Ghazali said something very beautiful. He said, those who look for seashells will find seashells, and those who open them will find pearls. And this is what we need to do when it comes to the contemplation of the Quran. We need to look for these pearls of the Quran. The first key that I promised to start with last time is capturing the awe of Allah. Capturing the awe of Allah. This could literally change your heart. And I prepared a lot of examples for you tonight that you can meditate on these ayat, and you will see your heart responding right away. Because these ayat are like the best when it comes, you can call them the awe-inspiring ayat, or examples of the awe-inspiring ayat. What are these examples in the Quran that makes me awestruck? This is one of the purposes of our study of tadabbur. That's why you could be a great scholar and you have no trace of tadabbur in your heart. So, why do we need to talk about the awe? As I said, the word awe comes from a word that means fright. So in the dictionary, they would define awe as a mix of veneration, terror, wonder, and fright. A great example of awe would be with experiencing the splendor and beauty of Grand Canyon. This is great natural scenes. People say they can cause the most unemotional individual to experience true awe. And there are many studies about awe and how it works and the benefits of that feeling. And this is what we should get from the Quran, but let me introduce this concept to you. They say this, the feeling of awe overwhelms the individual with a sense of vastness and greatness. And that makes you feel, develop feelings of smallness and humility. There is a study from the University of California that says that experiencing the awe promotes loving kindness and pro-social behavior. So people become more invested in greater good, giving more to charity, volunteering to help others, as part of feeling that awestruck. You will see many ayat in the Quran talking about nature, so do not miss these kind of ayat and let your heart experience that awe of Allah. Because these are manifestations of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam al-Ghazali, Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali said, الإنسان عادة يشعر بانتفاء ذاته أمام من تبهره عظمتهم وهو شعور يشتبك مع انفعالات نفسية أخرى فيكون عواطف الإعجاب والتهيب وما أشبه ذلك. He's saying here in this passage, usually when you are in the presence of great people, you almost tend to forget yourself. And then you develop a mixture of feelings of admiration, reverential fear. Imagine if you are in the presence of a king. If I asked you about the color of the shirt of the king, you may forget. Because you're overwhelmed by the greatness of that person to the point that you're not aware of what is going on next to you. And we have a sense of that in Surah Yusuf, when the ladies were waiting for Yusuf, and then Yusuf is coming, and they have these knives with their food. And because of the absolute beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam, they hurt themselves without feeling it. This is what they call fana. So you're annihilated. And this is because of experiencing the beauty of a created person. So why don't we feel the same thing when we hear about the creator of beauty? The one who has the attributes of majesty, power, and beauty, and holiness. So this is what we need to be doing tonight, inshallah. So Allah is the one who deserves to have these kinds of feelings for. So again, the big question is, how does the Quran develop that awe of Allah in our hearts? And I have 3 major examples of ayat that we can focus on, inshallah, as we're reading the Quran. So we can read, at this point, we can read selectively. And we can select some ayat that serves the purposes of the tadabbur that I gave you last time. So the first thing we have that would cultivate the awe of Allah in our hearts is the direct divine speech in the Quran. Do not miss these ayat when Allah is directly speaking, saying I or we. This is when Allah becomes very near to you. Do not miss these points. Not only do not miss them, but I would say look for these ayat. Look for these ayat and meditate on them. You will see these ayat mirroring the glory of Allah and the power and the majesty of Allah. And you will see that these ayat has no trace of human qualities. Because no human being can play the role of Allah and say, I created, I did, we created, we did. Let me show you these ayat. Just one example. So this is an example of meditating on this ayah to feel that awe in your heart. In the Quran it says, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نُحْيِي وَنُمِيتُ وَإِلَيْنَا الْمَصِيرُ يوم تشقق الأرض عنهم سراعا ذلك حشر علينا يسير نحن أعلم بما يقولون وما أنت عليهم بجبار فذكر بالقرآن من يخاف وعيد. I do have a lot of these examples, if we can pass these out. If you can take a copy. So I have here this first example of these ayat. The first example, it says, it is certainly we who give life and cause death, and to us is the final return. Beware of the day when the earth will split open, letting them rush forth. That will be an easy gathering for us. We know best of what they say, and you, O Prophet, are not there to compel them to believe. So remind them with the Quran. Remind only those who fear my warning. You see here in the beginning, it is certainly we who give life and cause death, and to us is the final return. No human being can have the qualification, or even people would even trust them when they make a claim like this. As I mentioned last time, for someone who's saying Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the author of the Quran, could any human being make statements like this and say we created, we did, we give life, we cause death? This must be an insane person. So the first exercise that cultivates the awe of Allah in our hearts is to look for these ayat. So this is the first example. But I want to make a brief note on this expression. It is we who give life. We here, yes, it refers to Allah, and it does not suggest any sense of plurality. It refers to Allah alone, because this is called the royal we. It is called the plural of majesty. That is why you always see we referring to Allah in terms of creation. But when it comes to worship, I is always used. But we is used to indicate power. We did this, and we made this. This is how kings speak. So when you see we in the Quran, it does not mean multiplicity of gods, but it means the one great God. So it is certainly we who give life and cause death, and to us is the final return. So again, meditate on these ayat and let your heart experience that power and that awe of we and that awe of to us is the final return. Who can read the second example for me? نعم لو تقرأ بسرعة. نعم.
I am God, there is no God but me. So worship me and keep up the prayer so that you remember me. The hour is coming, though I choose to keep it hidden, for each soul to be rewarded for its labor. Do not let anyone who does not believe in it and follows his own desires distract you from it, and so bring you to ruin.
Exactly. So again, here you see, this is a command for worship, or talking about the worship of Allah. So the pronoun I is used. It cannot be worship us. Now this is not about power, this is the absolute oneness. When it comes to worship, it's always I and me. But when it comes to creation and the manifestations of Allah's power, usually we is used. The next example.
Prophet, tell my servants that I am the forgiving, the merciful, but my torment is the truly painful one.
Very good. So again, here you see that direct, divine speech. You can go home and meditate on these ayat and read them slowly, and your purpose is to let your heart capture that I and we. And you will easily see the ayat speaking to your heart, touching and moving your heart very easily. And that is the first purpose in this whole series, inshallah. Next.
It is we who will inherit the earth and all who are on it. They will all be returned to us.
Now, as I said, no human being could have the audacity to make such claims. Now, and next.
Did you then think that we had created you without purpose, and that you would never be returned to us? Exalted is Allah, the true King. There is no God worthy of worship except Him, the Lord of the honorable throne.
I love these two ayat because not only it makes you experience the awe of Allah, but it makes you acknowledge something within you that you cannot deny. It says, do you think we created you without purpose? Do you think we created you in vain? So remember that we, and then answer the question for yourself. If you think that your brain is created to think, then there must be God. It's as simple as that. If you think that your brain is created to think, there must be God. Why? Because if there is no God, then everything has no design in it, no meaning, no purpose, and it means that your brain was not designed to think. It just happened like that. So if you insist that your brain is designed to think, and you're making sense of what you're thinking, that is a clear proof that there is design, and if there is design, there must be a designer. And if you believe that there is a design without a designer, then we say, thank you, we cannot continue that conversation. If you believe that there is a design and there is no designer, that's khalas. You come to a point when no arguments would basically work for you. So I always repeat this. If you want to deny Allah, then you have to really deny the purpose of your thinking. So to deny God, He must exist first so that you can deny Him. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, because in order to deny God and to make sense of that denial, there has to be meaning and purpose first. But if you're saying there is no meaning, there is no purpose, I mean, when you say there is no God, that means there is no meaning, there is no purpose, there is no value. So why are you trying to convince me that there is no God? There is no meaning, aslan. There is no purpose in anything. So, but this is something in us that we do not deny. We do not deny that there is purpose. And so it says, did you think that we created you without purpose and that you would never be returned to us? Imam al-Razi said, a child can prove to you that God exists, and a child can prove to you that there is good and bad, and a child can prove to you that there is reward and punishment, and there must be shara'. He said, and he raised the question, how? He said, if you hit a child, the child will look back. And this is a child, 2 years old. But he can be your great teacher in all of these fields. He will look back because he deep down believes that every act requires an actor. Everything made requires a maker. Everything done must have a doer. And second, he would be crying, insisting that the one who hit him would be disciplined. And that is because there is something in him that says the good must be rewarded and the bad must be disciplined. And he would insist for the idea of punishment or rewards. So we have, the great thing about this argument is, it makes you experience the awe of Allah. And second, it makes you assert a fact that you cannot deny. But do this alone. Do not do it in a group. Do it alone. Again, this is meditative reading. Can we move to the next one, please?
Yet some people ask mockingly, after I die, will I really be raised to life again? Do such people not remember that we created them before when they were nothing?
Exactly. So if you're doubting resurrection, then and you believe that Allah is the one who created you, then recreating you is an easier task. Bringing you back to life is an easier task. This is what the ayah is saying here. So you see, again, you see that, can you continue that passage, please? So I am trying to give you hints on how to read these ayat, but the most important part would be you. Because the one who's practicing is the one who would be learning. If I keep talking, I would be the only one learning from this class. So you have to be positive participant too. Now.
By your Lord, O Prophet, we will surely gather them along with the devils and then set them around hell on their knees. Then we will certainly begin by dragging out of every group the ones most defiant to the most compassionate. And we truly know best who is most deserving of burning in it. There is none of you who will not pass over it. This is a decree your Lord must fulfill. Then we will deliver those who are devout, leaving the wrongdoers there on their knees.
Good. So again, we're close with this last long example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this passage, after he narrated the story of Musa, he addresses the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly. And again, this is something you would never imagine a human being doing. There is the part when Allah is narrating the story of Musa and then addressing the Prophet directly. Now, can you read that part?
You, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were not present on the western side of the mountain when we gave our command to Moses. You were not there. We have brought into being many generations who lived long lives. You did not live among the people of Midian or recite our revelation to them. We have always sent messengers to people. Nor were you present on the side of Mount Sinai when we called out to Moses. But you too have been sent as an act of grace from your Lord. to give warning to a people to whom no warner has come before, so that they may take heed, and may not say, if a disaster should fall them as a result of what they have done with their own hands, Lord, if only you had sent us a messenger, we might have followed your message and become believers. Even now that our truth has come to them, they say, why has he not been given signs like those given to Moses? Did they not also deny the truth that was given to Moses before? They say two kinds of sorcery, helping each other, and we refuse to accept either of them. Say, Muhammad, then produce a book from God that gives better guidance than these two, and I will follow it, if you are telling the truth. If they do not respond to you, you will know that they follow only their own desires. Who is further astray than the one who follows his own desires with no guidance from God? Truly, God does not guide those who do wrong.
Okay. So remember that we're only dealing with one layer of tadabbur. Tonight we're noticing the divine persona. We're noticing these we and I as Allah is speaking directly. We'll be having some other classes that we can apply on that passage. But I am just skipping everything and focusing on the exercise we're doing today. So maybe after we're done with the whole series, you can go back to this one passage and apply the other keys to this one passage. So we're focusing only on noticing the pronouns, noticing the direct divine speech in these ayat. We have also another aspect, other examples that would cultivate the awe of Allah in our hearts. And these are the ayat talking about nature. We have the first example. Can you start the first one?
Who created the heavens and earth? Who sends down water from the sky for you, with which we cause gardens of delight to grow? You have no power to make the trees grow in them. It is another God beside God. Is it another God beside God? No, but they are people who take others to be equal with God.
Good. So again, when it comes to meditative reading, we're reading slowly. We're letting the meanings sink in our hearts. And again, we're noticing the direct divine speech. And here we're noticing nature as revelation. And we're reading these ayat with all of our senses. We can see, we can smell, we can hear as you're reading all of these ayat. So let me give you an example of reflecting on part of the ayat. It says in the first line, with which we cause gardens of delight to grow. What is gardens of delight? It's like beautiful gardens, right? So I wrote an article on the Mosque Foundation website. It's called Beauty as Revelation. And it was a comment on this ayah. So please review that article. It's very beneficial, inshallah. Beauty as revelation. You will see there also that if you try to deny Allah, you cannot call anything beautiful or ugly. Because again, if you deny Allah, that means that there is no purpose. There is no design. So nothing could be actually beautiful or ugly. That's your evaluation, if it even makes sense. Because it's part of the meaninglessness. It's crazy, literally, to deny Allah. Literally. It's like intellectual suicide. So if you deny Allah, you cannot call something beautiful. You cannot call something ugly. Because to call it beautiful, that means that it was designed to give beauty. So here Allah is saying, I created beautiful things. So beauty is something added. It's an added quality. It's not just creation for a purpose. It is beautiful creation. That beauty is an argument for God. If you can look at something and say, this is beautiful, then logically you cannot deny Allah. You cannot deny Allah if you're saying this is beautiful. because it means that there is purpose and there is design. And this is the whole idea. If there is purpose and design, it always refers to a designer. So you will see these ayat again speaking to your heart. Look around and you will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very close to your heart. So can you read that ayah again? لو ترفع صوتك please.
Read it, start over.
No.
Who created the heavens and earth? Who sends down water from the sky for you, with which we cause gardens of delight to grow? You have no power to make the trees grow in them. Is it another God beside God? No, but they are people who take others to be equal with God. Who is it that made the earth a stable place to live? Who made rivers flow through it? Who set immovable mountains on it and created a barrier between the fresh and salt water? Is it another God beside God? No, but most of them do not know. Who is it that answers the distressed when they call upon him? Who removes their suffering? Who makes you successors in the earth? Is it another God beside God? Little notice you take. Who is it that guides you through the darkness on land and sea? Who sends the winds as heralds of good news before his mercy? Is it another God beside God? God is far above the partners that they put beside him. Who is it that creates life and reproduces it? Who is it that gives you provision from the heavens and earth? Is it another God beside God? Say, show me your evidence then if what you say is true.
So basically, everything around you is declaring the glory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is part of the beauty of the Quran. When you read starting from Surah number 6, almost to the end of the Quran, you see employing the idea of nature to help you reflect on the attributes of Allah and thereby getting closer to Him. And the next one is a series of one of His signs is this, one of His signs is this. Now,
one of his signs is that he created you from dust, and lo and behold, you became human and scattered far and wide. Another of his signs is that he created spouses from among yourselves for you to live with in tranquility. He ordained love and kindness between you. There truly are signs in this for those who reflect. Another of his signs is the creation of the heavens and earth, and the diversity of your languages and colors. There truly are signs in this for those who know. Among his signs are your sleep by night and by day, and your seeking his bounty. There truly are signs in this for those who can hear. Among his signs too are that he shows you the lightning that terrifies and inspires hope, that he sends water down from the sky to restore the earth to life after death. There truly are signs in this for those who use their reason. Among his signs too is the fact that the heavens and the earth stand firm by his command. In the end, you will all emerge when he calls you from the earth. Everyone in the heavens and earth belongs to him, and all are obedient to him. He is the one who originates creation and will do it again. This is even easier for him. He is above all comparison in the heavens and earth. He is the Almighty, the All-Wise.
Great. So again, one of the problems of our modern time is that these things became very familiar to us. So the awe that is coming from these signs is being lost. So the Quran is helping you to look at everything in a refreshing way. Look at everything around you in the same wonder of a child. The child would see everything as wondrous, right? So you need to develop the same childlike wonder attitude if you really want to revive your heart and experience the awe. Because everything is literally wondrous. Everything is literally wondrous. So, and a great part of the Quran deals with reviving that thought in our hearts. And next, please.
Are the disbelievers not aware that the heavens and the earth used to be joined together and that we ripped them apart, that we made every living thing from water? Will they not believe?
Some people take this to say this is the Big Bang. But anyway, no.
And we put firm mountains on the earth, lest it should sway under them, and set broad paths on it, so that they might follow the right direction. And we made the sky a well-secured canopy, yet from its wonders they turn away. Is it he who created night and day? Excuse me. It is he who created night and day, the sun and the moon, each floating in its orbit.
Now, the best one, and it is very easy for you to meditate on, is this one from Surah Al-Jathiyah. And again, it changes your perspective on the Quran itself. Maybe you didn't see all of these passages coming together, but I guarantee it, most of the Quran is like that. If you didn't read the whole Quran before. So this is the beginning of Surah Al-Jathiyah. And see how the Quran addresses reason. The Quran is saying reflect, meditate, look around, and you will see Allah very close to you. So let's see the first 7 ayat of Surah Al-Jathiyah. Please.
This scripture is sent down from God, the mighty, the wise. There are signs in the heavens and the earth for those who believe. In the creation of you, in the creatures God scattered on earth, there are signs for people of sure faith. In the alternation of night and day, in the rain God provides, sending it down from the sky and reviving the dead earth with it. And in his shifting of the winds there are signs for those who use their reason. These are God's signs that we recount to you, Prophet, to show the truth. If they deny God and his revelations, what message will they believe in?
Exactly. If there is no God, then there is no meaning. What else would I believe in? If God is dead, man is dead too. If God is dead, man is dead. If there is no God, there is no meaning. This is very, very philosophically very strong ayat and very deep if you just meditate on them. And the great thing in the Quran is that it has a mix of reason and emotions, reason and fitrah. So it addresses your reason and what you're hardwired to believe. It revives the fitrah. It revives the fitrah in you. That's why it would be very hard to deny them. One last thing in cultivating the awe in our hearts is to read meditatively the verses about Allah's attributes. Now, I got some examples here. Now,
he has the keys to the unseen. No one knows them but him. He knows all that is in the land and sea. No leaf falls without his knowledge, nor is there a single grain in the darkness of the earth or anything, fresh or withered, that is not written in a clear record.
now, you know, Imam al-Ghazali mentioned something very beautiful. He said, if you know a great king, and then you desire to go to that king to praise him and recognize him, the king may reject you because you're nothing. The king does not need your recognition. He said, for Allah to accept you to stand in front of him and praise him and recognizes him, that is an honor to you. And that is lutf of Allah to you. Allah is doing talattuf of you, that He's just accepting you. Because if you have that great king in the dunya, you may not be even able to go and reach his palace and reach his place, let alone him allowing you to say anything in front of him, because you're nothing to him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of his talattuf, out of his subtle mercy and generosity and graciousness, is allowing us to stand before him. You know, some people say, why do we need to pray 5 times? This is an honor to you. The fact that he allowed you to stand before him and address him, this is an honor to you. So those great scholars, wallahi, we miss a lot when we're not guided by their insights, because they lived it, they experienced it. You know, we talked about knowing about wind and knowing wind. They knew the wind. Their knowledge of Allah was, they know Allah. But we know about Allah, but they did know Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why even their insights are very helpful for us, because it comes from someone who experienced it. So let your heart absorb these meanings, read them slowly, let these ideas sink in your heart till they change and move that heart. Can you read next, please?
If all the trees on earth were pens and the ocean were ink, refilled by 7 other oceans, the words of Allah would not be exhausted. Surely Allah is Almighty, All-Wise.
No.
To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, and He is the Most High, the Greatest. The heavens nearly burst one above the other in awe of Him, and the angels glorify the praises of their Lord, and seek forgiveness for those on earth. Surely Allah alone is the all-forgiving, most merciful. The revelation of this book is from Allah, the Almighty, All-Knowing, the forgiver of sin and acceptor of repentance, the severe in punishment, and infinite in bounty. There is no God worthy of worship except Him. To Him alone is the final return. Have they not traveled?
Also, this last one is seeing Allah in history, controlling history. Now,
Have they not traveled through the land and seen how those who lived before them met their end? They were more numerous than them, stronger than them, and made a more impressive mark on the land. Yet what they achieved was of no use to them at all. When messengers came to them with clear signs, they rebelled in the knowledge they had, and so they were engulfed by the very punishment they mocked. When they saw our punishment, they said, "We believe in God alone. We reject any partner we ascribe to Him." But believing after seeing our punishment did not benefit them at all. This has always been God's way of dealing with His creatures. There and then the disbelievers were lost.
Allah is secret. So again, the exercise and the key for tonight was very simple. We need to let the heart experience the awe of Allah by focusing on the ayat where Allah is addressing us or addressing the Prophet directly, reading the ayat that talks about Allah's power, reading the ayat that talks about Allah's attributes. And as we mentioned last time, before you start, you need to make sure that there is no arrogance in your heart. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to illuminate your heart with the Quran. And as the Prophet ﷺ used to say, اجعل القرآن ربيع قلبي. Make the Quran the spring of my heart. So this is how you approach the Quran, and this is one way of learning from it in a meditative way. Now,
Shaykh, the ayah he read from Surah Luqman, if all the trees on the earth were pens and the ocean were ink, when he says مَا نَفِدَتْ كَلِمَاتُ اللَّهِ, does he mean like the wisdom of Allah will never run out? Is that what he's...
It's more about the knowledge of Allah.
Okay.
So this is talking about the ultimate knowledge of Allah. So when you think about the ultimate knowledge of Allah, again, it is something that transcends your understanding. And that's what brings in the awe. When you feel very small, when you feel very humble, compared to the vastness and the greatness of Allah. This is what moves the heart. It's like someone shaking your heart. Remember the example we gave before about someone taking the exam the next day? So let's say you studied so much during the whole night and you have an exam tomorrow and you ask your mom to wake you up, let's say at 10 o'clock. And then when it was the time, then your mom is calling you out. Wake up, Habibi, and you're not responding. Why? Because you're in deep sleep. She started threatening you, warning you, wake up, Habibi, because if there is no Habibi at this time, if you don't do this, you will get this and this and this. And you're not responding because you're in deep sleep. So what should she do? Besides the cruel ways, she should shake you, literally, shake you up. And when your heart is awake, then you can respond. These ayat are part of what awakes the heart, is what shakes up the heart. When you get to know who you are and who He is, subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you get that heart awakened. When the heart is awakened, khalas, everything else is commentary. Because you become very ready. Your salah will be different, your du'as will be different. Your perspective on life itself will be different. So make sure that you read all of these ayat in a meditative, in a slow way, and let the meaning sink in your heart, and pick up the one that resonates with your heart the most, and meditate on them throughout the whole week. Maybe 10 minutes a day. And you will see some ayat that could be your favorite, and every day will be having some other keys. Next time we'll learn about how to respond to the ayat. Again, I could read these ayat in a completely different way than the way I read tonight. So how to respond to the ayat, this is what we will be learning inshallah next time. We'll be learning how to pray through the ayat, how to pray through the asma, the divine names in the ayat, and so on. So we'll see you inshallah next week at 7 o'clock.